Hello, my name is Bermet Talant. I'm a reporter here at the Kyiv Post, and I'm your host for the weekly podcast with highlights from the August 4 edition. Coming up on the program, telecom market for two. Lifecell loses subscribers as Kyivstar and Vodafone grow. The government will try to sell 890 state companies by 2020. Anti-corruption activists and opposition politicians are under growing pressure from the authorities. Ukrainian government has been promising to launch its long-stalled privatization of state-owned companies. On the auction block, there are many top companies as well as some exotic ones like circuses and movie studios. The economy ministry said, quote, "The state has proved as ineffective owner and manager of the companies." The author of the story, Veronika Melkazorova, joins me for discussion. Hi, Veronika.
Hello.
890 state companies. That's a lot. Why are they put on sale?
Actually, we have even more than 800. We have 3,460 state companies in Ukraine. More than 1,000 of them are not working. So that's why we need to sell some.
The government plans to sell so many companies, including loss-making ones, by 2020. Isn't it a little bit too ambitious?
That sounds ambitious, but it was the main demand of International Monetary Fund to continue the financial aid, because Ukraine was forced to launch the privatization as it has proved itself as ineffective owner of state enterprises. And of course, state enterprises suck the money from the budget and create enormous corruption risks, and we have a lot of privatization-related scandals in Ukraine.
So what kind of companies are on the list and who can buy them?
The Ministry of Economic Development and Trade offers to sell a wide range of companies: fish factories, food factories, cinema studios even, and circuses, about 6 regional circuses in Ukraine. And also major Ukrainian companies like Odessa Portside Plant and Turboatom and Obolenergos is like state energy producers. And also Ukrspirt, that's like the biggest alcohol beverages producer in Ukraine.
So, talking about the national circus and 6 regional circuses as well as 3 large movie studios which are on the list, what effect their privatization might have on the cultural sector of Ukraine?
I guess it would be a positive effect because, for example, in 2017, more than 500 million hryvnia was allocated for financial support of state-owned companies of cultural sector only. And the Ministry of Economic Development and Trade Monitoring said Dovzhenko Film Studios, for example, it's like the biggest film studio in Ukraine that occupies 16 hectares of land in the center of Kyiv, very high cost. Dovzhenko Film Studios lost 3 million hryvnias for the state only in 2015 and 2016. Others lost like more than 2 million hryvnias in the same period. The same situation is with circuses, so they keep losing the money and keep sucking the money from the state budget. If a private owner, for example, a businessman, very rich businessman that loves cinema, will buy them, he could like get a lot of land in Kyiv, because both National Circus of Ukraine and Dovzhenko, located in the city center, it has a lot of facilities, capacity for movie making, for entertainment, like in general. So, but I spoke to several employees and the directors of cultural enterprises, and they were all confident that it is like a raiding attempt, because they don't believe like any businessman in 21st century would be interested in buying a circus.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Is there a condition that if, let's say, an investor or a businessman buys a circus or a movie studio, do they have to keep this company, or they can turn it into, I don't know, a restaurant or a nightclub?
Yeah. The employees of circuses are confident that if the businessman buys like circus, he would create, for example, the boxing arena in the same place.
So basically the state is selling the premises and land of these companies, and there is no guarantee that one day Ukraine will be without circuses and movie studios.
For now, Ukrainian legislation does not allow to privatize the enterprises with a national status, like National Circus of Ukraine, National Cinema Studio Dovzhenko. But our Ministry of Economic Development and the State Property Fund has already prepared the draft law that would allow to cancel of this norm.
So the enterprises with national status will be put on sale as well?
If the Rada will approve the amendments to the privatization law, I guess they won't. Because it's like the good field for corruption, and in Ukraine we love corruption.
The Ukrainian government has failed in the past to privatize some companies.
Yeah. So, for example, the government failed to sell Odessa Port Side plant 2 times already. As Igor Belouz, the head of the state property fund, told journalists, there were about 10 potential investors interested in buying the plant, but when the time has come to participate in the auction, there were no bids. So nobody wanted to buy the biggest chemical producer in Ukraine at first for $500 million, and then they lowered the price to $200 million.
Was it too expensive, or why weren't there any buyers?
Actually, I guess it's too many corruption risks for investors.
Thank you, Veronika.
Thank you.
Moving on, Kyivstar and Vodafone are on their way to becoming Ukraine's dominant telecommunications providers. New data shows that Lifecell lost 2.2 million subscribers in the last 2 years. Kyiv Post's IT reporter Denis Krasnikov analyzed the latest financial reports. Welcome, Denis.
Hello.
So, what do the numbers tell us about Ukraine's telecom market?
Well, the numbers tell us that we are about to have 2 main telecom operators in Ukraine. Or, as many may think, that Lifecell will just leave the market, leaving Kyivstar and Vodafone Ukraine on it, reaping all the benefits from the roughly 42 million Ukrainians who have SIM cards in Ukraine.
And what did representatives of Lifecell say?
In the statistics, they included 800,000 subscribers that haven't replenished their smartphones for 3 months at least. It means that they counted only active users. And some experts say that they did it just to manipulate the numbers and manipulate the investors. Even though there are less subscribers, the average revenue per user is high, and it's alright to put more money into Lifecell and so on and so forth. So Kyivstar's results are pretty good. The company is growing, the number of subscribers is growing, and their revenue also growing. We don't know anything about Vodafone Ukraine because they haven't published their financial reports for the second quarter of 2017 yet, but they're about to do it in August.
Do you think mobile number portability would change the situation and break the duopoly?
Well, that's what Lifecell keeps saying about MNP, about the possibilities this service can bring to the Ukrainian market. They insist that if MNP is to be introduced, they will have lots of subscribers from other mobile operators. They also claim that their role on the Ukrainian market is the role of the third mobile operator, and that it's difficult for them to break through the duopoly, so to say, the duopoly of Kyivstar and Vodafone Ukraine, because Lifecell came to the Ukrainian market the last. But at the same time, according to the statistics, the world statistics, those countries that introduced MNP, they didn't have impressive results there. Only from 1 to 2 million subscribers somehow changed their SIM cards.
Changed the SIM cards.
Yeah, and then that's it. So if it happens in Ukraine, probably 1 million of Ukrainians will change their numbers, but this will not save Lifecell from their financial troubles. Lifecell offers now quite cheap tariff plans, but at the same time, people for some reasons tend to keep either Kyivstar or Vodafone Ukraine numbers.
So what are the future prospects for Lifecell in Ukraine given its weak position?
That's a difficult question. We don't know. The time will show, because now they're losing their subscribers, but at the same time we are about to have 4G. This is a completely new service which will open the doors for all the mobile operators on the Ukrainian market to introduce some new tariff plans which will include probably more data, and that means that they will cost more. as well. This will increase average revenue per user, and probably mobile operators will have more money, but it all is quite volatile, and it will depend on the Lifecell's managerial decisions in the future, because many people connect all their troubles with this problem. Nothing external happened in Ukraine during 2015, 2016, and these 2 quarters of 2017, so everything that happens with Lifecell fully depends on the management.
Thank you. This was the Kyiv Post reporter, Denis Krasnikov.
Thank you for having me.
And last, anti-corruption activists and opposition politicians say they're facing more harassment from the authorities. Critics accuse President Petro Poroshenko's administration of becoming more authoritarian and stifling of dissent. Elena Goncharova is here to tell us more about the problem. Hi, Lena.
Hello, Bermet.
The Anti-Corruption Action Center reported they have become a target of a smear campaign. What happened this week?
Well, the Anti-Corruption Action Center, or ANTAC, that'll be an easier way to name it, became a target of a smear campaign this week, which actually started some time ago. But on August 2nd, ANTAC lawyer received a letter from the tax police saying that they have opened a criminal case against the watchdog. But as we were writing the story, initially we didn't know any details of the case because the letter did not consist of any details regarding the case opened against ANTAC.
Did you manage to find details? I don't remember.
Well, yesterday when we were writing a follow-up on the story, we found out that one organization called National Interest, which earlier produced the film about ANTAC, accused them of tax evasion and embezzlement of funds. And that was the head of this organization, National Interest, who actually submitted his evidence to General Prosecutor's Office. And so eventually the tax police opened the case.
And what do the activists of ANTAC say?
They say that that's yet another attempt of the government to find dirt on the organization, and they will launch all their forces and try to show that's not true, because they have all their reports transparent and all the information can be found on their website.
You wrote that there is a connection between the crackdown on the anti-corruption watchdog and former Odessa governor Mikhail Saakashvili being stripped of Ukrainian citizenship 2 weeks ago. Why should we worry?
I guess this all came as a series of events which actually started earlier, I would say in the beginning of 2017, when a number of Ukraine's reformers and anti-corruption activists came under fire from the government for exposing corrupt schemes of the top officials.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is the end of this week's show. To read more of the stories discussed on this podcast, visit KyievPost.com or pick up a copy of our latest issue. And if you like our work, please subscribe at KyievPost/subscription. Почуємось!